I'm back, baby.
Indeed, Duke, and as many of us are well aware, it's taken quite some time. For those who aren't terribly familiar with the series, Duke Nukem Forever is the long-awaited and much-delayed sequel to Duke Nukem 3D, which was initially released back in 1996 on the PC. 97 became the year that Duke Nukem Forever was announced, and despite many claims over the years that the game would never end up seeing the light of day, it's finally on store shelves, here in 2011.
What about the game, Duke? Was it any good?
Yeah, but after 12 fucking years, it should be.
The story in Duke Nukem Forever, which is set 12 years after 3D, centers around our hero Duke, who, at this point in his life, is one of the world's biggest celebrities due to his efforts in single-handedly thwarting the alien invasion the first time around, and of course, saving the planet. The aliens are pissed, however, and do want revenge, and now it's time for Duke to come out of retirement and kick some alien ass.
Duke, we've got your green power armor over here and ready to go.
Power armor is for pussies.
Well, okay. You want a gun instead?
Child, incoming!
Duke Nukem Forever is a game that was made to appeal to fans of the series and, of course, fans of the old-school mid-90s style shooters. If you're big into the modern conventions and features of current-day shooters, I can wholeheartedly recommend that you skip this one. It's just not going to be your cup of tea.
What a mess.
The game itself is essentially a first-person shooter, but done in that trademark Duke style that includes quite a bit of over-the-top humor, and even some other gameplay elements outside of just running and shooting.
Welcome to the
The game sports a nice variety of weapon types that all serve a different function. You'll obviously come across some that are staples of the Duke series, such as the RPG, the Ripper, and of course, the shotgun.
When you get to hell, tell him Duke sent you.
Duke can carry up to 2 main weapons, and of course a number of trip mines and pipe bombs. The sub-weapons in the game are extremely useful in a tight spot, and can mean the difference between life and death when surrounded, especially when getting shot at by an enemy that's just out of reach or high up on a platform.
I am the Duke. I am A#1.
On top of that, you can also use items that are mapped to your D-pad, including the beer, Duke glasses for nighttime vision, the Holoduke, and my personal favorite, the steroids. Going on a roid rage will make you borderline invincible and allow you to punch holes right through just about anything that gets in your way. Duke Nukem Forever offers the player a pretty hefty 23-chapter campaign that can be completed in about 10 hours or so without too much resistance. One nice feature is the ability to replay any chapter after they've been completed, so finding secrets or getting those achievements and trophies isn't too much of a focus during your first go-round.
Okay, baby, I can dig that roleplay shit.
On top of the running and gunning that Duke is famous for, you'll also be doing some puzzle solving and even some driving in some of the stages. Most of the time, driving sections in first-person shooters have the tendency of feeling tacked on, but both the RC car section and the monster truck sections in Duke Nukem Forever are fun and do serve to break up the action nicely. One thing that's definitely worth noting about the game is the immense level of interaction with objects in the world. Almost everything can be grabbed, messed with, or manipulated. You can play the pinball machines, hit up some air hockey, try your luck at the slots, or even play a game of pool if you like. You can even grab a certain choice item from one of the toilets early on in the game for one of my favorite achievements of all time, the Turd Burglar. Duke himself doesn't have a life bar, it's an ego meter, and it can be refilled by either executing enemies or by having Duke do some sort of self-appreciating act, like ogling himself in the mirror, for example.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing sexy back.
The game does offer a multiplayer component, and while it is fun, it's pretty basic in its presentation. You've got the standard multiplayer modes, and at times, some pretty rough netcode to deal with. The graphics in Duke are definitely not its strong point. It wears its arduously long development time on its face, and even at its best still looks like an early generation Xbox 360 title. The graphics aren't awful by any means, but they don't really pack that wow factor that we've all come to expect from the current gen. The environments themselves are varied, despite not being overly detailed. There are some texture popping issues from time to time, and I have had the game lock up my system on more than one occasion. The enemies, on the other hand, do look good and are adequately detailed. Some of the bosses look great and can be epic in scale, a lot of the time taking up a good portion of your screen's real estate.
Right in the jewels.
The sound design in Duke fares much better than its visual department. The music is rockin', and no Duke game can be complete without our hero dishing out a plethora of one-liners, and Duke Nukem Forever is no exception. Duke's always got something classy to say in just about any situation.
Take your pills, vitamins, every day, and you might grow up to be as awesome as me.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Nukem.
The controls in Duke Nukem Forever work pretty well, and I can't say that I have any major complaints. Everything feels pretty responsive for the most part, and I can't think of a single instance in any of the 23 chapters where I ever got frustrated at the controls. They work just the way that you would expect them to.
Do you want me to trash your mics? Would you like me to trash your mics? You don't fucking get it. The scene's done. Now, the rest of the crew left for...
Oh, thanks, Duke. That guy was a douche.
Going into this review, I'm well aware of the hatred that Duke Nukem Forever has seemed to gather from most mainstream reviewers out there. What people don't seem to understand is that this is a Duke Nukem game. It's supposed to be vulgar, sexist, and classless. It's Duke Nukem. For me, personally, this is exactly what I wanted in a new Duke game. One that feels right at home and comfortable in its lineage, that goes out of its way to pick on other games in the genre and never think too much of itself. In an age where games, reviewers, and even gamers themselves take gaming way too seriously, it's nice to see Duke come along and issue a big fat fuck you to the industry, and take us back to a time when games were about having a blast and blowing shit up with reckless abandon.
Step right up and get some.
Reviewers have also lambasted the game's maturity level as well, with a kind of pretentiousness that just doesn't belong in the world of video games. If I myself ever get to a point where I develop a holier-than-thou attitude that ultimately prevents me from laughing at a dick joke in a video game, that'll be the day when I quit playing them. Games are simply that, guys. Games. It says so in the descriptor of the medium. We need more games like Duke Nukem Forever to remind us of that nowadays. Again, if you're into a lot of the newer generation shooting games, stay away from this one. You'll hate it. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s and enjoyed Doom, Quake, and of course Duke Nukem 3D, you'll be right at home with Duke Nukem Forever. To quote one great iconic video game hero, it's time to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum. As always, guys, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching and subscribing, and until next time, stay classic.